Hello and welcome to ICRA Technology. Let's continue our journey with our Salesforce Apex course. In this video, we are going to learn about constructor in Apex, an essential part of working with classes and objects. So a constructor is a special method that runs automatically when you created an object. It's help you set default value or initialize data right when the object is created. So there are two types of constructor in Apex. One is default constructor and other is parameterized constructor. So let's understand this with some simple code example. Let's begin with the default constructor example. Let me copy this execution part of the code, as we already saved the class in developer console. You can see it here. So the student constructor set default values when we created s equals to new student here. Apex automatically call the constructor, which assigned not set to name and 0 to age. This ensures that the object has meaningful initial value even if no input is provided. And then s.showDetails calls the method that printed the name and age value to the debug log. So let's execute this to see the result. Debug only. Here you can see the result. It's help us verify what data the object is holding after creation. This flow shows how constructor and method work together to initial and display an object data. So let's go with another example. Here we have a parameterized constructor example. Let me copy this execution part of the code and open the developer console. As you can see, we already saved the class called book in the developer console. Let me open my anonymous window. Let me copy this. Let me paste this execution part of the code. So the book string t string a constructor is a parameterized constructor. It's accept two value, one for the title and one for the author of the book. When we created a book b1 equals to new book, you can see Atomic Habits and James Clear. Apex automatically call the constructor that assigns Atomic Habits to the title and James Clear to the author. This show us to initialize the object with custom values at the same time of creation rather than using default values. Then b1.showInfo calls the method that printed the title and author value to the debug log. So let me execute this to see the result. See, this pattern show how parameterized constructor help in setting up objects with dynamic data during instantiation. So let's try another one example. Here we have an example where we use both constructor. Let me copy this execution part of the code. So we already saved the classes in the class in the developer console. So the employee constructor set default values. When we created employee e1 equals to new employee, Apex automatically call the default constructor which assign unknown to name and 0 to salary. This ensures that the object has some basic value even when no input is provided. Then E1 printed info calls the method that printed the name and salary to the debug log. It helps us to see what value the objects hold after default initialization. The employee string the employee string and string s constructor is a parameterized constructor. When we created employee e2 equals to new employee, Apex call this constructor with a specific value, setting Alice as the name and 50,000 as the salary. This show us to create object with custom values at the same time of creation. Then e2.printinfo is used to display the assigned values. This show how constructor can be overloaded to provide multiple way to initialize an object. So let's execute this to see the result. Debug only. So here you can see the result. So constructor help your Apex code organized and efficient. They let you set default or custom values right when an object is created, making your program flexible and powerful. Whether you are using a default constructor or a custom one, constructor are the first step is giving life to your objects. So here are some tasks you can try for hands-on practice, and that's it with the constructor. Thank you.